What's up, CEO family? It's your boy Malik, CEO, and we are here with a new video. Today we're going to be doing a segment of Malik's Talks, and today's episode is going to be definitely special to me because I have some of the most important people in my life help me with today's episode and answering some questions about faith and family. So today we're going to be talking about faith, family, and the stories that have shaped our walk with God. But before we go ahead and get into this video, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, click that notification bell so you can know when I post more content, and also go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel. So to go ahead and get started with today's episode, we're going to start at the beginning, which is pretty much our roots. So the first question states, what are your earliest memories of faith or going to church?
My earliest memory of going to church is when I was a little girl, probably 4 or 5 year old. We would go with a family friend, my cousin and I. So yeah, that's my early memory.
Okay. And then Susie, what are your earliest memories of faith or actually attending church?
Well, I've been attending church all my life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it started out when I was very young. So
as a little girl?
As a little girl, yes.
Mm-hmm. And then who introduced you to like the church life, basically?
Well, there was a pastor in my church that, introduced me. Started, in Sunday school. You go on from there, yeah. And then other family members, such as my Aunt Ann.
Okay. And then, Lady, same question. So what are your earliest memories of faith or going to church? Or maybe I should say, so who introduced you to church? Like, was it your mother that pretty much started you going to church, or was it like a family friend or another family member?
I'll say my mom.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know, I probably was, 9, 8 or something. And we started going, and that's like when I figured out like about God and just how church operates and stuff.
Okay. And then the next question, and starting with you, Ma, it says, who introduced you to God? And I guess it's kind of piggybacks on the first question. It says, who introduced you to God and how did they impact your spiritual life?
I think the introduction came from my Aunt Ann, who made sure to went to church, and also at my grandmother's house. Wasn't much going on at my house, but once we started going, we incorporated God into the actual home with my parents. So I would say my Aunt Ann, my grandmother, and then that Mr. Daniels, who took us to church on Sundays.
And would you say that had like a strong impact on your spiritual life?
Absolutely, definitely.
Okay. And then Susie, pretty much the same question is basically stating who introduced you to God and what kind of impact did that have on your spiritual life?
Well, I know I said initially it was my pastor and then my Aunt Ann, but my Aunt Marie, we would always go to church together. She would pick me up, and it's been her, and what was the next part?
And then like the second part of that is basically asking like what kind of impact did that have on your spiritual life as a young child being introduced into the church and going on a regular basis?
A great impact because it shaped me into the person that I am today.
Okay.
So yeah.
Nice. And then Ludi, pretty much same question in regards to who introduced you to God and then what kind of impact did that have on your spiritual life as it is today?
I'll probably say both of my parents. Because I went to church with my mom, but my dad used to make me pray before I went to sleep. So that's something we did every night or when I was with him. And then impact, I didn't really, I think it impacted my life a lot, but it started with the music at church first. Like I never really understood like the preacher at first or I would fall asleep, but the music was what I
kept you engaged,
gravitated
basically.
towards, yeah. And then when I got older, I was like, okay, I can understand these messages, but the music was the first thing that was like, oh, this sounds good, and I have my spirit feels good listening to it.
Okay.
Awesome.
That's a different take. So the second section is pretty much titled Growing in Faith. So we all know that faith isn't a one-time thing. It definitely grows and it changes. So let's get into talking about kind of like that journey. So the first question basically states, How has your relationship with God evolved over the years?
For me, when I was younger, I was going to church on Sundays because that's where I was supposed to be. Like on Sundays, we knew we were going to church. So, it wasn't like I was really getting something out of church. That's where we had to be. 3 or 4 hours out of your Sunday, you were going to be in church, whether you wanted to be or not. However, when I got older and understood, the teachings that came along in church, I definitely got the message, and I understood that we're nothing without God, that we need Him. He's like our everything. So evolving from a child just going to a grown person to actually believe in the Word and live by the Word, actually a great evolvement for me.
Okay. And then, Aunt Susie? And the question basically states, how has your relationship with God evolved over the years?
Being in church my whole life, when you're young, you get it. But as you get older and things begin to happen in your life, you begin to focus on your faith more. Mm-hmm. And so it becomes a big part of your life. But you've had the foundation, mm-hmm. So you got something to build on.
Right.
So, yeah.
Ask it one more time for me.
Yes. So it says, how has your relationship with God evolved over the years?
I think it evolved more of like a real relationship, like as I don't know, like how we have relationships with our family member. It's like that real. Like as a kid, I feel like faith is like, oh God, because I used to pray like, God, help me find this toy. Something so like vague. But as you get older, you pray real things. God shows up, and it's like y'all build that connection and y'all talk. Okay, God, I'm mad today. Help me not be mad and be happy. Fix my mood or my attitude. So just him being there every step of the way was, I guess, something that
Evolved over time. So it seems like, kind of based on what you guys were saying, is the older you get and the more things that you experience, the relationship that you have with God, I don't want to use the word becomes more validated, but it has a little bit more meaning because, what am I looking for?
You're saying it right. Like it's validation.
Yeah.
And I get it when you know how they say when you're young you're on milk and when you get older you're on meat, because mentally you can comprehend better when you're older.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like that, especially after you experience different things. Because I feel like kind of the same thing that you guys were saying, like being a child in church, you're halfway listening as a child to what the pastor or the preacher is saying. But as you get older and you go through certain things, the words that are being preached begin to make more sense. And you can kind of have like a better connection to what you've heard or what you're hearing.
Absolutely.
And so the next question, a part of this section, basically states, can you recall a moment where you felt God speaking clearly to you?
I won't necessarily say that God was speaking clearly to me, because a lot of times you hear things you don't know if it's God or not. Mm-hmm. You want it to be God, especially if it's something that you want to be, that you want to hear. Mm-hmm. I won't necessarily say speaking clearly to me, but just when things happen, I know that it was nobody but God. Mm-hmm. That's the way I hear Him talking to me. Not necessarily speaking clearly to me like I'm speaking to you right now, but when things happen, things that I prayed for, when He shows up in situations where I have no control of or nobody else has control of, but God comes in and He fixes it in that 11th hour, I know that's God.
Nice. And then, Susie, can you recall a moment where you felt God speaking clearly to you?
Well, He speaks to us in different ways. And like she said, not necessarily directly. Like
in that literal sense.
But sometimes it's through something that you read. Mm-hmm. It'll just manifest so clearly. And like she said, it had to be nobody but God. And even in a song, He's speaking to you. Mm-hmm. You're like, okay, yeah, that's it. So yeah, but like you, not so much like directly like
Right.
you and I are talking right now. But he shows up.
Right, for
He
sure.
lets you know. He lets you know. You know, this
I'm
is
here.
me.
For
I'm
sure.
here. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And then Lodi, same question.
I'm trying to think because I have a few. But
Which one do you feel like was the most, or either you used the first time you felt like he spoke to you,
First time.
or the one that was the most impactful for you?
I think like just the gifts that I know I have, like the feelings. Of course, one of mine is like singing because I sing, but God also gave me the gift of like teaching,
Okay.
and being able to teach people not like math or English or anything like that, but just like life. So I think that was one of the first times where I was like, okay, God, I can feel you making me go through some of these things early at an early age to be able to help the next or a person that's older than me that hasn't went through it, that they will go through it or anything like that. So I think it was like a feeling for me.
Okay. I will say, and I know I'm kind of like interjection in some of like the topics or whatever. I feel like for me, the first time that I felt like God was speaking clearly to me, or should I say through me, would have been my junior year of college when I want to say I was overwhelmed and depressed with working full time and then going to school full time. And I think that what God was trying to teach me at that time was to start building my relationship with Him, because I feel like I had a similar background of going to church, but not really understanding what was being taught or not really paying attention. So in that moment, it's like, okay, I need you, God. And I've been praying. It's like, okay, but God was telling me at that time, it's time for you to start doing things differently. And I feel like that's when I started to pray more. And I think that that was the start of me having to pray every night before I go to sleep. Like, it's like clockwork. Like, I can't fully go to sleep. It doesn't matter what I have going on. Like, I do that before I fully go to bed. And I feel like as I've been getting older, something else that like God has been speaking to me clearly about is just having more trust and faith in Him. Like in those moments of me feeling or starting to feel overwhelmed about a situation, He just comes and He just quickly eases my mind, like, I got it, and let me handle it.
Wow.
So I feel like that's how He's been speaking to me here recently. But my first time was definitely in college and just like being on starting my praying journey. But transitioning into our third section before we take a break is basically faith in the family. So I feel like we've all played some type of role in our family's spiritual life. So the question that follows that is, how did you incorporate faith into parenting or either your family life?
For me, I think parenting was pretty much teach you the same way that I was taught. I thought that letting you know how important God was and making sure that you were in church, whether you wanted to be there or not. Like, I knew where you were. And although it looked like you weren't getting it, I see now that clearly you did. And as far as family, I wasn't married to a spiritual man, so it wasn't like, we had a whole lot of praying going on in our house as a union or a unit. But I did make sure that you got the fundamentals that you needed. So when you did get to that point, like you just said, when you were in college and God spoke to you, you knew it was Him and you knew what you needed to do. You have to have a prayer life. You have to have that connection.
Mm-hmm. And so, Susie, the question basically states again, how did you incorporate faith into parenting or family life? Or like, what did, I guess, to kind of add to that question or like to change it up a little bit, how did your faith look like in your household with your kids?
Oh, they knew, what was right and what was wrong. I mean, I won't say that they knew, but they knew that they had to do the right thing. And that was taught to them. You know, this is what you do. And if you don't do what's right, there's going to be something to pay. You know, so you know, like, you know, you teach them the best way that you know how, and then you pray and ask God to help you, give you strength.
Right.
And then they have to see what you do. You know, so therefore you got to be on your P's and Q's.
Right.
You know, because my kids are watching me.
Right.
And so I can't only just tell them this is what you need to do.
And
you
then
know,
do something different.
and then expect them to do it. But they got to see me doing it too.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And the family, I mean, you know, family part, well, I was married to, he wasn't spiritual when we started out, but he became spiritual. So, you know, it was a joint effort. You know, like, together, you know, you pray. Together, you seek God. Together, you help raise these kids. You know,
Awesome.
With God's help.
Awesome.
And then, Ladie, I know we're not parents here, so I don't know if you want to answer that question or if you want to go into the second question because it may kind
I
of
can
tie
do the
into.
family one.
Okay.
Like just with like, you know, regular family. I think I'll say hold up, what was the family one again?
So it basically, the question states, how did you incorporate faith into parenting and family life?
Okay. I think it was just by being obedient. I think
You're saying like from a child's perspective with your parents, being
Well,
obedient to...
well, with God, like
Okay.
a lot of moves that I have made or decisions I made was based off like my relationship with God, and I don't know if it helped my family a lot, but I hope that it did as far as them seeing me like make decisions that didn't make sense, and knowing that I wouldn't have made them if like it was my choice, and understanding like the good and decisions after, and like how God just does everything in His way, in His order, even the stuff that don't make sense to us. You know, we just that I've done, and I hope that they've just seen it and it helped them with their faith as well.
Nice. And then the last question before we break basically states, what did prayer look like in your home when you were growing up?
In my home, I spent a lot of time at my grandmother's house. And like I said, my aunt was there too. And we would pray before we went to bed. We will get on our knees, literally get on our knees every night. And we prayed. We thank God for waking us up. We thank God for, you know, providing food, providing shelter, providing clothes. You know, as kids, we were thanking God for those things because that's what, you know, our grandparents and our aunts, and that's what our family instilled in us. So we knew who He was, and we knew to be thankful, and we knew to pray, and that's what we did. I even recall a prayer because I was not really a bad kid. I was temperamental. You know, I had a real quick temper, so I kind of stayed angry all the time for whatever reason. I remember saying a prayer one night, kind of off what everybody else was saying. I was just thanking God I didn't even get a spanking that day. So just being grateful for Him allowing me to act up that day and not get a spanking. Because one thing about my grandmother, yeah, it's definitely, you know, you gonna get this. You know, she could give you that look, and if you can ignore that look if you wanted to, but you know you were gonna get spanked. So I prayed and thank God that, you know, God just allowed me not to get a whooping. You know, allow my grandmother to forget what I did so I wouldn't get spanked. Just prayer has always been powerful and always been a constant in my grandmother's house.
Okay. And then on Susie, same question. What did prayer look like in your home when you were growing up?
Well, you didn't like see your parents pray per se. You know, you didn't really see that, but you knew that you would pray about certain things because, you know, our dad just had to look at us, and we knew to get in line. You know, but when we messed up, you know, we knew, God, now, you know, we need you to, I need you touch my dad's heart, cause he about to do something to us. You know, he's not gonna have no foolishness. And so when we think that we can get away, but God says that He will take care of you in any given situation, and you were taught that in church coming up, that all you had to do, whatever it was that you needed, you could just pray and say, God, help me.
Yes.
You ain't got to stand here saying no whole drawn out long, whole lot of stuff. Just a few words, Lord, help me. You know, so yeah, prayer works. It works. I need it.
And Ludie, what did prayer look like in your home when you were growing up?
I guess like I said, me and my dad we'll pray every night. But other than that, I didn't really pray as a kid like that. But if we go further, like in middle school, I think I didn't start really praying until I had to have like my surgery. That for me was like, okay, let's get it started. So you can be gone. So it was more so of like let's just for real get this. This is serious. This is real life. God is real. You're real. I made it out of surgery. I have something to thank you for. So I think prayer. That's when I started believing in prayer for real and actually talking to God and understanding that even with prayer, it's one thing to ask Him for whatever, but it's one thing to just be able to come to Him about your feelings day by day. Like it doesn't always have to be about to ask, but it could be simple like, God, these people at work made me mad today. You can talk to Him just like you talk to anybody else.
Regular conversation.
Yeah, so I think that's when mine comes from. I wouldn't say child, but I would say teenager, I guess. If that's the same thing or not, but yeah, that's when I realized
I think mine was similar as well because I didn't see you praying when I was young, and definitely not my father either. I think I didn't start actively praying until college. I think my first prayer was and it was silly, I don't know if you remember when we was moving from Nash Street to Woodside, I think, over there by Walmart. And I would never forget, I had lost some jacket, and I can't remember what that jacket was. And Mom was telling me she was going to beat me if this jacket was not at the other house. And I think that's the first time that I was praying that jacket was going to be there, because I was like, okay. And my mother didn't really whoop me as a child, but I knew she was serious that day. So I was like, okay, let me pray that this jacket is there.
Was it there?
It was there.
Oh, awesome.
So the prayer, it definitely worked because the jacket was there. But I think that was my first time actually praying, but I didn't actively see that growing up. I think it was something that I just inadvertently started doing myself.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we are about to go to break. When we come back, the next topic is going to be faith through hardship. So stay tuned. Okay, welcome back, viewers. We're going to go ahead and get into the next section, faith through hardship. So the first question states, how did you find the strength to trust God in uncertainty?
For me, I would say when I was in my valley season, and right before the valley season, I remember being on a man-made pedestal and trying to save the whole world and lost myself in the process. Praying and just seeking God in that valley moment when there was nobody else, when you had to, seek out God for yourself, being in complete darkness and not seeing any light, not knowing where any light was going to come from, just praying and asking God, is this my end all? Is this where I need to be? Believing in Him, trusting the process, and being grateful for actually coming into that light, seeing that there was some light at the end of the tunnel. Because when you first walk in, it's complete darkness, and you have to try to, navigate through a dark space and not knowing where you're going, continuously bumping into something, trying to figure out how to get out. And just believing that all you got is God. That's what it was for me. Seeking Him in my valley and allowing what I knew Him to be, and knowing that what He would do, and He did just what He said He would do.
May I hear the question?
Yes. So the question states, how did you find the strength to trust God in uncertainty?
How do you find the strength? I think it's that you realize that there is no other way. There is nobody who can do it but God. You maybe you go to your family members or whatever, and they can only do what they can do. But God can do it all. And it gets to the point where so many things come at you, till you know that if He don't do it, that's it. You just need Him in everything, everyday situations. You can't make it without Him. I can't make it without Him. And He just keeps right on showing up for me in different situations over and over and over again. And I'm so thankful for that. I don't know this.
I think I would say something similar. Just understanding that in every situation that God came through, big or small, understanding that He can do anything and everything, and not limiting Him. Yeah.
Okay. And then the last part of this section, the question states, was there a prayer that took years to be answered? And if so, how did God show up?
For me, it goes back to the first part of being in a valley and praying for some type of relief. Just praying for my mental peace, for my physical peace, and God showed up for me when I was praying for myself and trying to figure out what I needed to do. He allowed me not to concentrate on what I had going on and to assist other people with the issues that they had. And that's how He showed up for me. He showed up for me through my assistance to other people. Yeah, so I prayed for relief, and my relief was helping other people and to help out of my need and not necessarily my surplus.
So the question states, was there a prayer that took years to be answered for you? And if so, how did God show up?
I don't recall any one thing that took years to be answered, or a long time. I don't recall any one thing. He just keeps right on answering prayers for me
And showing up.
like only He can. He's a bad man.
Yes, He is.
So Ladie, same question.
It's a few, but one I will say that's like the one I'm most like excited or happy about is my relationship with my dad. And just it being the best for me, and genuinely appreciating it, especially coming from where it was at. I think it took a lot of prayer, tears, or whatever for a long time, but now to be in a position where we're like friends is like all I kind of ever wanted, as it results to him. So it took a while, but it happened for me. So I think that was one of the major ones.
That's good.
Awesome.
And then next section. So with all the experience you've gained, let's go ahead and talk about some of the wisdom that you gained through your experiences. So the question states, what advice would you give someone who's struggling in their faith?
I would say just continue to believe in Him, believing in God, believing that He will do just what He said He was going to do, and trust the process. You gotta trust the process. It's not gonna happen in your time. It's always God timing, and He's gonna be right there at that very moment that you need Him. So trust the process.
Never give up. Never give up. Keep holding on, and even when it feel like you just not gonna make it, they used to tell us to tie a knot and hang on. You know, that's what you have to do. You have to tie that knot, and you got to keep on holding on and being persistent. You know, and God, I know you got this.
I would say understanding that it doesn't take a whole lot. I think people that starts on their faith journey is like, oh my God, I gotta read all this stuff in the Bible the first in like a week, and then I'll be like, it really just takes believing, and the only way that you can truly believe is just that conversation and letting Him show you, letting Him be present. But you have to start with the little, even if it's a little belief, that little bit will prolong, and as you grow, God will continuously keep showing you what faith does in your life.
And I think to add to that and to, I guess, say something a little bit different, because I think that all of us kind of have like a similar answer in regards to basically just giving it time. And what is it saying? The faith the size of a mustard seed? So definitely that. And I think also understanding that your relationship and your journey with God is going to be different from the next person.
Awesome.
So that would be what I would add to that as well. And then the last question for this particular section states, what do you wish you could tell your younger self about God?
I will tell my younger self that there is a man who paid a debt for us that He didn't even owe. And that He took it all, He buried it all on the cross for us. So everything that we done from being a young person up until now that was wrong, he cast it in the sea of forgiveness. He never thinks about it again. It's us. So you, as a younger person, you're gonna make some mistakes. You are going to error. But God took all that on the cross. So I would tell my younger self to trust in the man. And that man is God. Always believe in Him.
I would tell my younger self that God has got your back. He's always had it, you know. Even when you don't see no way, don't know no way, none of that. You know, He's got your back. But you just got to give it to Him. Stop trying to fix it yourself, you know, and just let Him be God. Just let God be God. Because He got it. And just, you know, just trust and believe. And hold on.
For sure.
And again, I say, hold on.
For sure.
And then, Ladie, to reiterate the question, what do you wish you could tell your younger self about God?
There's a few. Okay, I'm gonna say whatever. One of them is that God isn't on your time; you're on His. So it don't matter. It don't matter what you think or what you have planned out. You don't control your life or run your life. It is free will. You can go out here and do whatever. However, things are not going to happen until He's ready for them to happen for you. That's one main one. The other one is me personally. Like, what are you worried about? You have a blessed life. You have a life that some people would want. Don't worry, don't stress about stuff that shouldn't be stressed about. You're doing it because honestly, I feel like for somebody like me as an overthinker or like a person that will stress small stuff, like you'll cut back your years if you know. And you don't have to. You don't have to. Just let God. Don't worry about so much. Don't try to be God. That's bottom line. Let God be God and you be his child. Don't take his position. Because you can never do it. So just allow him to be who he is. So that's what I'll tell my younger self.
Okay. And to kind of close out today's video, I think it's best if we can kind of reflect on what matters the most. So the first question would be, what are you most thankful to God for?
I am most thankful to God for the opportunity to get it right every day. I get another chance to just get it right. And I'm glad that he is a God of second chance, third chance, fourth chance, and fifth chance, and so on and so on. I am most thankful that he has never left us or forsake us. I am thankful to God for just opening my eyes every morning, because there's never a morning that go by that somebody doesn't open their eyes. So I'm grateful for that.
And then Susie, what are you most thankful for?
I'm thankful that in a certain incident, I did not lose my mind. And what I'm talking about is the passing of my husband. I'm just thankful. I'm thankful to still be here today, to be able to even talk about it. And I know it didn't have to be this way, but I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that I'm still sane. I still have my right mind. I'm thankful for my life, in that what he has allowed me to be able to do. Thankful for my job, for my family, for just everything. God is just so good, and I'm thankful that he's keeping me again in my right mind, to the point where I know that if it had not been for God, if it had not been, and the saying, but God.
But God.
That was deep. Liddy, what are you most thankful to God for?
I think I would say just my life in general. Allowing me to grow as a man of God every day. I was recently told when I was at church by this lady that lived in New Jersey on the Zoom call. She said, we never met. And she was like, man, like, you're a great man of, like, God. And to me, that's a lot. It's one thing to be a good man, but to be a good man of God and, like, to have him on your side, so every day being able to just grow with God and be able to spread the word, no matter what that looks like. It's not always sharing a scripture with somebody, or it ain't even always praying for somebody. It could be in the littlest things, like saying good morning or smiling. So I think that's what I'm grateful for, just being able to let God flow through me every day, no matter what that looks like.
Awesome.
I think that was good. That was good.
That was.
And then the last question of this section, or maybe I should say what I'm most thankful to God for. And it's crazy because before Aunt Susie even responded, that was going to be my response of just having a peace of mind and being in my right mind. Is this month still Mental Health Awareness Month?
June, yes.
Yeah. I think that mental health is something that is not taken as serious as it should be. And I think that a lot of people sometimes struggle in their day-to-day life with it. So I think that's something that I'm definitely thankful for. And then I'm also thankful for the financial stability that God has blessed me with, because that's something that has been in my prayers since I got consistent. Because there was a time where I did feel like I was drowning. And now to be able to not have that feeling or not have that weight on your shoulders is definitely something to be thankful for. So that's something I can say that I'm thankful for.
Amen.
And then so the last question of today's video and of this section, it states, when people look at your life, what do you want them to see about your walk with God?
What I want people to see about my walk with God is grace that I give people daily, my forgiving heart, and my act of kindness through Him. I ask God always to allow me to be a blessing to someone. Just to be a blessing to them in whatever capacity I could be that blessing. And I want people to see that, see that my walk is real, and that, I struggle daily with, sometimes falling short and missing the mark. But I want people to see that I strive for it. The goodness in me comes from God. I want people to see that in my walk.
I want people to see that God is real, and most importantly, that God is a keeper. Mm-hmm. He'll keep you if you want to be kept. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is, it's been since 2005, and it's now what? 2025, and God has kept me. I want people to see that, as a woman, you don't have to just be out here all willy-nilly. You know what I'm saying?
And loosey-goosey.
And you know what I'm saying? So, God's a keeper. And He'll keep you if you want to be kept. And I just want, young women to look at my life and say, oh my God, God is keeping her. And I think for almost 65 years, I think God has been good. Awesome. He's been good to me. And again, I say, He's a keeper and He's real.
Say the question every time.
Yes, so the question is, when people look at your life, what do you want them to see about your walk with God?
What I would want them to see is that He's consistent even when we're not. Yeah, that's one thing I don't want people to see with my walk with God, in hopes that they wouldn't, because it's one thing to be inconsistent and God is consistent because He always, will be there. Mm-hmm. But I would hope that when they see how when they get consistent, how it just, life gets way better. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think, that the bottom line, I think that's what it is, like just them seeing like God being consistent and them being consistent as well.
And to piggyback on what you're saying, as far as, like you were saying, God is always going to be with you no matter what. And if you get off of His path, He'll always try to get you back on track. Mm-hmm. But when you put in, because I think what a lot of people forget is you have to put in work as well. God will do His part, but sometimes you have to meet Him at a certain point. Yeah. And even though He's always there and He'll always try to protect you and He'll always try to be that sense of a safe space and comfort, when you put in that same amount of, well, you would never be able to put in the same amount of work that God puts in. But when you put in some amount of work, and like you were saying, Ladie, when you're consistent as well, what you reap from what you sow with Him is a lot more from you being inconsistent. Yeah. From if you were not inconsistent.
And I think it's just like any other relationship. Friends, family, dating, whatever. When one person is consistent and the other one's not, it's like an unbalance there. Mm-hmm. And when both are consistent, it's like a thrive.
Exactly.
So it's like the same. It's like the same concept. I think a lot of people think like with God we have to be. It's really that simple. Like I and this is all off topic, but I honestly feel like He put people on the earth just for like us to see that like this is how y'all relationships can be with each other, but it's the same as with me. Mm-hmm. So.
And I feel like God requires so little out of us as His children. Yeah. And I don't want to go too deep
Especially
into
after
that,
you gave
but
his
yeah.
life, yeah.
Exactly. But I do thank you guys for sharing your hearts today. And I truly think that the stories and lessons are definitely treasures that I know hopefully someone would listen to this video and actually be inspired or maybe even blessed by the words that you guys provided today. And I do want to thank everybody for tuning in. And remember, faith isn't just something we talk about, it's something we live in. See you next time on Malek Talks.